Welcome again to the Babbleheads podcast with Bryson and Corey.
You can do better. Come on, you can do better. I've heard you do better.
Welcome to the Babbleheads podcast with Bryson and Corey.
It's pronounced Dumas. I'm standing sideways right now. This went bad. Alright. Sweet. I will pour.
Why?
Because you're freaking the plague. You got leprosy.
Just in time for Halloween.
You've got leprosy.
I've got the zombie.
Surprise! Halloween episode version 2, though.
This one's. Oh no!
That was mine, though. Switching it up, though.
It's a switcheroo.
All right.
And now you can't ever touch this again because it has plague.
Yep. No cheers for the plague, man.
I'm gonna cheers myself.
Here you go.
Ha! Got you.
Oh. It's been too long.
It has been. This is not good.
This is brought to you by DG Home Disinfectant Wipes. Because somebody has the plague. And by plague, we mean...
it's cocksacky virus.
Yeah. So he's all kind of nastiness right now, so I'm risking life and limb to do this podcast, folks, so you're welcome.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and now he's checking his phone.
No, actually, it vibrated in my pocket, and it was my mommy. So I swiped it, got rid of it. I don't even need to hear it. She doesn't even listen to the podcast, so... Totally.
She used to.
She listened to one.
Ah.
She listened to podcast numero uno. And then she constantly tells me, I go, Mom, why aren't you listening to the podcast? And she goes, it's just so hard for me to sit down and listen to an hour-long podcast. And I'm like, but you don't have to sit down and listen to a podcast. That's the whole beauty of a podcast.
Yes.
You have a half an hour drive to work. Throw it on in the car. You'll have a whole episode digested in one day.
Digested.
Well, with us, it's thick and meaty. So it does actually take a little bit of time. You gotta chew it up.
Chew it like cud.
Let it salivate a little in your mouth. Get the digestive tract active. The mental, intellectual digestive tract going. The problem is that most people have a real volatile reaction with us. And their intellectual digestive tract goes into, IBS.
Yeah.
So they just start shitting out terrible information.
Yeah, so we aren't really prepared for Halloween episode V2, I would say. Because we kind of covered everything about Halloween in Halloween episode V1.
Yeah, I think it's probably a bad idea to have 2 episodes for Halloween.
So this is probably going to turn into, just like most of our podcasts, a rambling podcast, but that's okay. That's fun.
Yeah. Well, in the spirit of Halloween, my blisters, though...
Yeah, you're going to just that's your gift you're handing out for Halloween.
I am. For Halloween, anybody who comes trick-or-treating to my house gets blisters, from Satan himself.
Yes.
All over their mouths, and on their hands, and inside their feet.
Is it in your mouth?
It's in my mouth.
Why am
I have
here?
the world's most sore throat.
I shouldn't be here. What am I doing here?
Oh, it gets worse. It gets so much worse.
I'm sure.
And I was going to wait until you were sitting here captive before I started to tell you some of the actual symptoms and side effects of this thing that can happen.
Sure, let's go. Halloween episode.
Oh, this is going to be really gory.
You've
seen Saw, right?
Yeah.
This is basically that.
Good.
So, an unusual but possible thing that happens with this virus is... Well, first of all, obviously, you get blisters.
Yep.
And those can turn into straight up, lesions on your skin. And then the skin actually peels off in chunks. Right?
Why am I here?
And that's not even all. So those lesions start to form, and one of the most common places they form is underneath your nails, toe and finger, and then they fall off.
I really shouldn't be here, folks.
And then they grow back, no problem, but they fall off.
that's gross.
Fingernails and toenails.
You've
just
legit
peeling them
got
off.
leprosy. You know the movie
Dude, have you looked? Did you look up
Heaven?
any pictures of what this thing does to adults?
No.
Oh, it's gnarly. Kids lose fingernails and toenails too.
You're like that guy from Kingdom of Heaven that they have to wrap up in the gauze, whose face is just falling apart. That's going to be you next week. People are going to go, that's a great Halloween costume, Bryson. And you're going to be like, yeah, thanks. But that's my face, though. It's falling apart. Half my cheek is gone. You can see my throat through my face. It's my tongue's waggling around in there.
My tongue barely moves right now. I don't know if you can notice I have a little bit of a lisp. It's because my tongue is like twice its normal size.
That's great. That's great. I'm really glad I decided to come here tonight.
Yeah, I didn't want to tell you any of that until I had you here.
Great.
You'll be fine. I've been telling you for like a week and a half to just sack up.
No. You've been telling me for a day. I didn't know that you had this at all.
I
until
told you
today.
No, I told you that it was either.
No,
I said
no.
I'm sick, and it's either hand, foot, mouth or strep. And then my strep, they didn't call me to tell me it was positive, which they said they would. So I don't have strep, and I have blisters all over my hands, and my feet. Which, by the way, they make it almost impossible to walk. It hurts so much.
You already had a problem walking, and now you add blisters to the mix.
Oh my gosh. I'm just a mess. I'm an actual hot mess. Well, minus the hot. I'm like a big, ugly mess.
Big steaming turd of a mess.
Like a big old cow pie sitting in the middle of a pasture. Not moving.
So do we take the lights down for the next episode? Or do we leave them up?
I feel like this is not something we discussed during the Halloween episode.
I feel like we should discuss. So this is going to come out the day before Halloween.
Hey, happy Halloween!
Yeah! So,
it's my wife's favorite holiday, that.
Nice.
She loves Halloween.
I'm going to have some stuff at my house this year.
She has Hocus Pocus.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a movie with...
Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, Hocus Pocus. That's what I said.
Nope.
Hocus Pocus.
No, you're saying Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus.
I should really just leave. But, yeah, so I'm actually going to hand out stuff to, like, the two people that come to my apartment. So
I'll make sure that Trina stops by and gives you a little hand, foot, mouth.
Yeah.
She doesn't have it, by the way. Only I got it.
Yep.
Everyone in my family's been exposed to my son who had hand, foot, mouth. And the only person who got it was me.
It's scary to think about stuff like that. And imagine, like, go back 100 years ago with this and how much worse it probably was.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. I can only imagine. Because there was no, like, missing a day of work.
Yeah.
Or, like, just kind of, like, dealing with it. I'm sure, like, just that in general. And then people would probably see it and be like, oh, he's got the plague.
Mm-hmm. I do.
You do.
It's bubonic.
So how did he got it from daycare?
That's the thought, I guess.
But did anyone else get it?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think that maybe Dave's girlfriend's daughter might have had it. No, but she came to visit. They came to visit. I think she might have been a carrier.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Oh well, what are you gonna do, man?
That happens with kids. Just like it happened with my dog,
Just
it
like
happened with
me.
Yeah.
This sucks.
Yeah.
The doctors were like, yeah, you guys shouldn't have to worry about it too much. Just make sure you wash your hands a lot, and we did, and make sure you do this a lot. But by the time that the symptoms are showing on the kid, the most contagious stage is over. It's a sneaky little virus.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of leading into. Like, diseases and things in general are weird, man.
It's funny when you think about how advanced a little tiny single-cell organism can be. And actually, in the case of a virus, are they even an organism?
I don't know. But it's like, it changes how your body acts to help it spread. Like, you'll start sneezing to try, like, spread colds and diseases. You'll start leaking.
Yeah, I'm leaking out of all my lesions from my plague.
Yeah, so it's kind of creepy how that all works when you think about it.
And for this particular virus, once the lesions and everything are gone, it's only contagious one way. Through the poop. So apparently you can be contagious for it's anywhere between 3 and 8 weeks through your poop.
Fun. So if you really want to get back at someone, you can be like a monkey, just crap in your hand and fling it and be like, now you got hand, foot, mouth.
Boom, got
and
him.
waddle away with your pants around your legs.
Yeah, I could do that. I could see myself doing that.
There's actually a game that centers around spawning a virus and having it contaminate the world.
Why do I feel like that sounds familiar?
I think it's called Contagion.
I think I've played Contagion.
Yeah, and I think it's weird that that's a game that people are like, yeah, this is going to be exciting. Let's infect everyone with germs.
I don't know if you know this or not, but people are weird.
Yeah.
Just in general, people are weird critters.
Yeah, I would say so.
So yeah, happy Halloween to me. My skin's falling off.
Yep.
Happy Halloween to you.
You could argue that he's in the spirit more than anyone else.
Happy Halloween to Corey, too. I spit in the gentleman.
Oh, God. Why are you checking your phone?
I'm not checking my phone.
Yeah, except you had your phone out.
I was getting rid of a text message because, as you know, as we explained in a previous episode, it will buzz every 10 minutes during this whole episode if I don't swipe away that text message. Someone who hasn't texted me in like a month and a half just texted me out of nowhere in the middle of recording this podcast.
I always love those new phone who dis messages.
You know what I gotta do? I know what I gotta do. I'm gonna be a responsible recording adult. I'm gonna put it on mute. And
no way.
I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna put it just out of my reach.
Below the microphone.
Directly below the microphone. Oh, that's fantastic. This is going very well.
Yes, it is.
This is going very well.
Maybe we're a little bit out of practice. That's
It's
okay.
your fault.
No, it's not my fault. I'm the one that said, hey, and you're like, no, I don't think I can do that day. No, I can't do that day.
Yeah, that's because I have...
Mate's sick. I can't do that.
Yeah, and then I got sick immediately following with the same thing.
Yeah.
Sucks, man. And now you're gonna get sick, and then we're gonna have to record like 4 podcasts in one day.
If I get sick, I'm stabbing you in the eye.
That's not eye for an eye. That's not. You'd be violating Hamurabi's
You're right.
code.
I'm gonna stab you in both.
No, what you need to do is play the long game, and the next time you get some horrible, contagious thing, you come over and you just spit in my eyeball.
No, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a dump in a bag. Freeze the bag, preserving all of the chemicals and all that stuff.
It'll kill all the bacteria. Sorry.
No, it won't.
Yeah, well.
No, it won't.
Why do you think you can freeze meat and leave it in the freezer?
You know they keep samples of
There's a big,
things in a cool temperature.
huge difference between cryogenic stasis and freezing
No,
stuff
that's
in
not.
a freezer.
They put stuff in a fridge to preserve it. It's not cryogenic stasis. They put stuff like...
You're talking about like antibiotics and like virus samples and stuff?
of stuff, yeah. All I need is a little bit of feek.
There's also a difference between refrigeration and freezing.
Yeah, I'll just put it in the back of my fridge.
There you go.
Just don't open it.
Just
People will go, what's
in the
this
fridge."
brown stuff slopping around back
Just
here?
a little poop in my fridge. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I've got baking soda right next to it. It definitely neutralizes the odor.
Definitely.
I have to change it out like every 3 days, but it works.
Speaking of poop, the dog stepped in his own poop and ran everywhere in the apartment. It was a disaster. I'm like, oh God, no, not the bed. Please, no. He jumped right up on the bed.
Poop bed.
Oh my, it was horrible.
Your purple mattress will never be the same, not a sponsor.
Luckily, I have the purple mattress protector, which is the shit.
Purple mattress protector?
Yep. That's it.
It's a bed condom.
Yep. If you're going to get a bed, get the purple bed. Not a sponsor.
If you're going to get a bed, get a mattress condom.
Condom.
It's condom.
Sounds
Nobody who's listening can see you shake your head. You have to
I
audibly
am
disagree.
shaking my head back and forth.
Corey shakes his head with disapproval.
Yeah. So,
We're going to narrate this now.
when you do that voice, I've been listening to a morning show lately that's actually good. Not, Tob and Bomb, but a good one.
What one is that?
The show?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And
what one is it?
It's called The Show.
Oh.
On K-Rock.
Wait, what's the show called?
Why am I here, ladies and gentlemen? Corey looks to the camera with disgust.
Dude, what's my tattoo say?
That's another thing they're doing is every week they have a wheel of tattoos they spin it.
I've heard that, actually.
Yeah. That's a horrible idea.
That's a terrible game.
Like, I couldn't imagine being a show fan. Could you imagine having 6 Babblehead logos, designs, and being like, you're going to get one of these for life. Even if there's a diehard fan, I wouldn't do that.
No.
I would. Because one of the options is that you can get whatever one you want, but it has to be a tramp stamp. I would be like, no. No.
You know what's great? I can hear a noise in the background. And I know what it is.
What is it?
There's a kiddie pool sitting directly outside that window, and it's raining out. The roof is dripping on it.
You've done a real good job preparing for tonight, you know that?
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty awesome.
Says he's all worried about audio quality and stuff like that.
Well, I say I'm worried about it, but here's the thing. This is just a generic office. This is not.
So, something I've realized is I'm fascinated with inspecting out wood now.
Inspecting wood.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure I line up a bunch of nice gentlemen for you next time for the next podcast. I'm just gonna line them up from here to the road. All kinds of podcast guys. They're gonna come in here and you're gonna inspect their wood. We're gonna set up. There's a door right here. The door right behind us. We're gonna set them up like a train. They're coming here, stand right here, center mass of the camera. You're gonna inspect their wood, then they'll leave.
You know what I mean.
And I'm gonna charge $5 for admission. Anybody's interested, Babbleheads podcast,
and you'll give them hand, foot, mouth, so their penis will fall off. Anyway, so no, what I'm saying is whenever I look at furniture now, I always inspect it with a critical eye, and that definitely comes from work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's pretty interesting turn of events, considering I used to not give two shits about it. And it's that's not real end grain. That's obviously veneer.
Yeah, it's like we've talked about before, where you can't wait around in life trying to find what your passion is. Because your passion doesn't find you. You create passion. Yeah. So anybody can turn a boring job that they like just a little bit into something that they're very passionate about. There's dudes who are super, super passionate about purchasing paper clips.
Yeah.
And they're the best in the world at purchasing paper clips.
So I had a conversation with someone. I support someone on Patreon. And one of the Patreon reward is you get to just sit on a call and talk to them. And they actually have a pretty cool podcast. So I was talking to him. So he goes, "Hey, so what do you do for your work?" And I go, "I build furniture on the computer. So I'm an engineer." And he goes, "Wow, that's really interesting." And I'm like, "Yeah, when you say it out loud, it is kind of a really niche job, isn't it?" He goes, "Yeah." And he's like, "What do you think of it?" I go, "I love it." And I kind of caught myself for that because it was an honest answer. And I'm like, "I really do. I never, if you went back in time and were like, Corey, my son, one day you are going to enjoy creating furniture," I'd be like,
and
get out of here.
And not with your hands.
Yeah. Get out of here. That's not going to happen. Nah, that's not me. I'm going to be... Well, young me's going to be like, I'm going to make video games.
We both were. We both went to college we're going to make video games.
And then I saw the programming and I'm like, I don't want to make video games.
I want to make video games, but I also want to see the sun in the next 60 years.
Yeah, that whole industry is pretty sketchy, though. Now...
Well, when we were coming up, it was the place to be.
Yeah, that would have been the time to get into it.
Remember when EA was you saw places where people worked at EA and there was beanbag lounges and you played Xbox on your break.
Yeah, so like I think it wasn't quite the boom there. Now it's just oversaturated. But it's like you look left and right every day. Another company is either closing down or they're getting sued for like work practice issues.
Yeah.
And it's because, and this is what happens. Every kid at one point that loves video games goes, I want to make video games. That's a job I can do. Great.
Video game.
The bar of entry for video games now is like art jobs. Back in the day, artists would start working at a place. They could be like one guy I think was literally the janitor. And every so often they'd be like, hey, we need a storyboard or this or that. Will you do it? And he would do it. And he slowly learned from people at this small shop. And then he ended up becoming like a famous Disney animator. That shit don't happen no more.
Kind of like, what's his name? At Blizzard. The guy who's like the main storyboard guy who recently retired. Chris Metzen.
Yep.
He started as like a peon guy.
Yeah.
And then he ended up being the guy. Like, he created Warcraft, basically.
Yeah. And the likelihood of that happening now, slim to none. Just slim to none.
Pretty small.
Because they're not going to take that chance with you. Like, let's put it this way. Blizzard, you're sitting down at an interview. Even if you even get to sit down. But let's say for some miracle you get through. I pull up your thing, okay. It says you don't have any experience in the gaming industry. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, I have lots of experience.
It says you went to college for psychology?
Yeah.
Okay.
And other stuff. They taught me math.
But are you really passionate about video games?
Yes.
Do you know a lot about video games?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. We've got somebody that on paper has gotten all these grades and done these things that should mean that they know what they're doing.
So my 3.1 in psych isn't enough to be able to... Oh.
So meanwhile, you might actually be an amazing person for video games and just not have the degree.
You mean like how both of us
yeah.
are furniture design engineers currently.
Yeah.
And how neither of us have an engineering degree.
Exactly. And I think at first that was intimidating. Then I ran into people with engineering degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, I've met several people with engineering degrees. Lots of them, actually.
Yep. And it's scary.
Yeah.
I go, you
I think mechanical maybe attracts some of the...
Maybe. I wish I could go back and afford to take more and have the time to do it. Because I think a lot of it would be really interesting to learn tolerances and that kind of stuff.
To learn tolerances?
Not tolerances. What's the thing I'm thinking of? A bunch of calculations you can do and practices, and ideally you should be able to go to a college and learn a lot of really interesting
Are you talking
things.
about more like simulation type calculations?
Yes, yeah,
where
that
you're
kind of
talking
stuff.
about torque applied?
Yeah,
that type of stuff?
That kind of stuff I think is really cool. Where you take and it's
like you could sit down and figure out based on where the legs are on this table.
Yeah, where it's
how
going
much
to break.
flex you could put in the middle of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is cool. Because right now it's I get the idea, but it's not if I put 50 newtons per foot weight on that, it's going to snap.
I'm going to pretend like you just made a coherent statement
50 newtons per foot. That's a force of 50 newtons per foot.
Yeah, I know, but that's not a thing people do.
Yeah,
people do not make newtons per foot.
Yeah, I guarantee you.
It'd be pound feet.
No.
Or Newton meters.
Yeah, that's it. Newton meters.
Newton feet is not a thing.
Yeah. Maybe it is, though. Now it is.
That's going to be... I mean, you could do it, but man, that's going to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, you're right. It's been a while. And see, I could use a refresher. But, it's kind of now what I do is, just general common sense, which is more than 90% of designers have. Dude. People are you can't bend that piece of plywood around in a perfect circle? Why not? And that can't support
You guys
500
can't
pounds?
bend plywood into a perfect circle? What kind of cheap equipment you working with over there?
With your hands, dum-dum.
Oh, we don't use hands.
Yeah. We're at a whole different level as far as facilities go.
You mean like the other direction, right?
I think there's where we used to work, where I work now, and then where you work.
I mean, I don't know what your place looks like, so I can't really speak to it. But we've got some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, you got a lot of cool tools and toys and stuff. I am a little envious of that, but I love the like small community of where I work. Like I on the daily talk to the owner of the business and like solve problems with him and stuff. That's pretty cool. That's really cool. So it's worth it for me. You know, and he's always looking to improve. It's just...
Yeah, that is a lot of fun.
But, so
I'm like a cog in a machine.
Yeah, you are.
But that's okay.
You're wasting away behind a desk.
Yeah, well, it's good right now. Because if I had to walk around for my job, I'd be a hurt man.
Yeah. So you had one of your first things go through the shop already.
I've had several at this point. I've probably had 10 pieces.
See, that's the other thing with ours is because it's mostly contract stuff.
This was all contract.
That I've worked on with really special. Like the specials are generally like you send it out and 4 months later you get it. So like something I drew has like been approved and gone through everything. Yeah. And it's a massive desk and I'm so happy with how it turned out. It's a curved desk that's just gigantic. It's awesome.
Feeling pretty special over there.
I am, because that's nothing. We wouldn't.
It's a great feeling.
We wouldn't have done that at the last place. Curved front on this giant desk. We can't do that.
Actually, what we do, this would really blow your mind, is we actually do solid wood bendings.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And they're not. We don't do steam bending though. Mm-hmm. It's all done by taking big solid pieces of wood, like say 8/4, and then slicing it up into very thin slices.
Yeah. And
then re-gluing them and aligning the grain in a way, and then putting them in a jig that bends it to the shape we need. So by the time we're all done and everything's all glued up, it still looks like a one piece because all the grain still lines up. It's pretty amazing.
That's something we've been thinking about doing.
It's actually not that hard to do. No. To do it right, you need to have a good slicer.
Well, the other thing is, I think a lot of people on the outside world for what we do misjudge the craftsmanship that goes into a lot of things. Like, there's ways to get around the craftsmanship through automation and things like that, but you lose a lot of what makes... Tell me when. Makes woodworking unique.
When?
And I think that's something that I'm happy my company still does, is we do a lot of, more, what's the word? We do a lot more commercial, like, not really high grade stuff. It's really nice stuff, but it's not all solid wood and all that stuff. And,
right.
We are trying to be competitive.
So,
but at the same time, we still have a lot of stuff that requires craftsmanship, and when it goes into it, it's a little bit pricier, but you get a better quality thing.
So, one thing that's really cool about what I do is that I can do both. So, for our contract stuff, a lot of what we do is veneer.
Yep.
Because just quite frankly, if you're going to put your furniture in hotels, not many hotels are going to want to spend solid wood price.
No.
But a lot are willing to spend high-end veneer price.
Yes.
And, however, on the residential front, everything is solid.
Yeah, see, we do one thing that's residential, and our stackable bookcases that are really freaking cool, that you can just add on to as you go. It's really cool. And those are solid wood.
And you know what blew my mind? Totally blew my mind compared to where we come from. Yeah. Right? You got to think about this. So at our last company, what we sold was high-end furniture, mostly residential, and mostly case good.
Yeah.
But there was upholstery as well, which was like 40% of the business. But either way, A case there would have, and I can say all this now because they're gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter anymore. So the cost of, say, like just as an example, a chest of 5 drawers, like a dresser. Cost to the company would probably be about $1,000 unfinished, which would be about $2,000 finished, and that's not the real cost, but it's the theoretical cost.
Yeah.
With overheads and stuff. And, that would retail, and this is pretty typical for most furniture companies, it'd be a 3x markup for retail price. And obviously nobody pays retail price, it's like a car.
No.
So, that would then retail for $6,000, right? Which is a lot of money. We just sold, or let me put it this way, we would probably sell the best-selling piece, I know the best-selling piece that we had at our last place of employment, which we eventually are going to start saying the name.
Yeah.
Was a chair, an upholstered chair, which is one of the cheaper lines, and we sold 85 of them the year before we closed. And that was our absolute best seller. Our next best seller after that was only like 40-something.
Yeah.
So we just did a collector's piece, which my company does every year.
Yeah.
It's very cool. It's a mission-style console table with like a sideboard with like these hand-done one-off tiles, one in each side. And they literally are like actual like handmade tiles from, I think, Japan or something. Mm-hmm. Like hand-painted and etched. Like they're fancy.
Not America made, though?
Not America. Well, these are... It's fine if you import Wagyu beef, okay?
No.
It's same deal. So...
Don't touch your face, Corey. Don't touch your face.
We... just mush it in your mouth. So we inlaid those tiles into this sideboard, and it looks really cool, right? But it's the 2018 collector's piece, and if my memory serves, I got an email saying that we had sold 150 of those units, just that one, and we introduced it this year, and it's a limited run.
Yeah,
and that blew my mind, totally blew my mind, because I'd never experienced volume like that at a high-end place.
Yeah.
That was a long story for that.
Yeah, it was. But I think the other thing is, it's like, I listened to Fine Woodworking's podcast. I never thought I would do that until, like, I got interested. Have you ever heard of the spring joint?
I believe so.
It's not at all... So, when you're talking about joinery and woodworking, it's how two faces meet.
Yes.
So, a butt joint is literally just butting things together.
Faces.
Well, two things meet. So, a butt joint doesn't actually support itself at all. It's just two things butting up against each other.
Which, we used a lot of those at Hardin.
Yeah.
But no one would ever know because, like, this tabletop is technically a series of butt joints.
So... here's the thing. Well, that's how most panels are glued up.
Not where I'm at.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. So okay. The spring joint is when you're gluing up large panels like this, you actually take like a 64th and make a slight curve. So in the center, it's a 64th shallower than the outside. And when you glue them up, without much pressure, you can hold it up and see light through it. And then you really clamp it down, and it squeezes it together. And how it adjusts the grain and how it glues up, it stops expansion contraction because they want to go back to this position, not that way and all the other ways. It's really a cool idea where it's like you're forcing it into a position and gluing it together.
It's pretty neat.
Wood is pretty awesome, folks. It's still alive after it's been chopped up.
Yeah, wood is an interesting material to work with because it unlike metal, which expands and contracts in a uniform way, wood is a living material and it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So depending on moisture quantity and the temperature outside, ambient temperature, all of that affects how wood behaves.
Yep.
So when you design furniture, you actually have to keep in mind how wood shifts and changes. So you wouldn't know it by looking at something because we work really hard to make sure that you'd never notice that it's there. But, for example, say I was going to make this top, but instead of it being glued up pieces the way it is, this is, I know most people probably don't know this, but this is like 10 6-inch wide, 4 to 6 inch wide, random width planks, all glued up lengthwise and then trimmed to size. If I were to make this out of a frame, say I made this an octagon table just to make things easy, 8 pieces, 8 rails going around, all connected at the joints, and then one big panel of this type, of this wood glued up panel type inside that. If you don't allow for proper expansion contraction gaps, it's going to blow up.
Yeah, and you wouldn't think it would.
It literally will. It'll destroy itself.
Yeah, and I think the crazy thing is that if you took a picture of like solid wood furniture every day for a year through the seasons, especially up here, from the same location, it's a lot of work, but you would see that thing move in the pictures. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. And
speaking of things that move that you'd never expect to move, did you know that glass is not solid?
Wow. Yeah, on the finest and finest of things.
No, seriously. Glass, as you see it, is not in its fully solid state. If you leave a glass pane for like 100 years, which you can do, you can see houses that have had glass in them for like 100 years. If you were to take that pane of glass out of that window and take a caliper and measure the thickness at the top and the thickness at the bottom, it'll be much thicker at the bottom than it is at the top because it's slowly running.
That sounds like fake news.
It's not fake news, man. It's real deal. It's real deal.
I don't know if
I learned that a long time ago in a science class.
I don't know if I believe you.
All right, well, if I'm wrong, it's fake news. Somebody Google that. Jamie, pull that shit up.
So how do you guys glue up stuff like this at your place, then?
We tongue and groove it.
I don't know if that's worth it. I think it kind of gets rid of some of the look. Yeah, it does. I mean, it changes the look.
With proper matching and everything, you don't even notice it.
True.
Especially if you're working with something like oak.
True.
Which 90% of what we do is oak.
Yeah, oak and maple is what we do a lot of. And birch. Everybody wants birch. I'm like, birch?
Have they ever seen walnut? I mean, come on.
No, we do some walnut. We do like all the species.
Yes, you should see the wall that we have because
I'm sure you do more species. For sure.
It blew my mind. I mean,
do they have Ipe?
No. But dude, nobody has Ipe.
Yeah, that was just ridiculous.
Nobody has Ipe. No, we have everything. I mean, everything from freaking oak, cherry, the standards, oak, cherry, maple, down to birch, and what was some of the other stuff? We had like some weird like Somali woods and like we have mahogany. I don't think you can do mahogany anymore though in the States.
Really?
Yeah, there's some kind of law or something against it because it's an endangered thing or something like that. We had to get rid of it. We had a whole bunch of it. Apparently a couple years ago we had to get rid of a bunch of it.
So to be honest, I'm still not like, I can't look at something and be like, that's this, that's that species.
You haven't gotten there yet?
No.
Young Padawan, you will arrive.
I'm getting there. Like, it's obvious. Like, oak's grain is pretty, like,
yeah, but can you tell the difference between white oak and red oak?
That's the color of the wood.
Yeah, but sometimes it's tough.
Sometimes, yeah. So that's the thing is, like, that's the other crazy thing is people might not know what color matching is that, like, you'll cut one tree down, split it open, and it's not like, oh no, I've mixed up the wood from these two trees. You could probably separate those trees out by color.
So here's the other thing that's pretty crazy about the stuff that I've had to deal with that's new to me is at our old place of employment, we pretty much did everything flat sawn.
Yep.
Oh. Well, here we do all of them. So depending on what we're doing, we do quarter sawn, we do flat sawn, and actually all of our standard product is quarter sawn oak. So quarter sawn, we do quarter sawn, flat sawn, and on occasion we do rift.
See, I don't have to deal with that stuff. So
rift is so wasteful.
For me and for them, go over the differences in the...
Okay, so it's very hard to describe over voice, but I'll do my best.
Yeah.
So it all depends on how you slice up the log.
Yeah.
So for flat sawn, you basically take a log and you slice it horizontally all the way through. That gives you what we would call a flat sawn.
Yeah.
And then you trim, obviously trim the bark off the edges and whatnot. Quarter sawn, the best way I could sort of help you imagine this is to cut the tree into quarters. Okay. And then you take slices out of it from that point. So that creates a 45-degree turn in the grain direction from flat sawn. And then rift sawn is cut perpendicular to the bark.
So, perpendicular.
Straight in, like this, like slices of a pizza.
Holy crap.
But then straight. So it's immensely wasteful, rift sawn.
Yeah.
Whereas flat sawn and quarter sawn, you still use all of the lumber, essentially.
Yeah.
Rift sawn, you waste
So
like
you
50%.
cut it in a quarter. So imagine you're looking down at a pizza, quarter sawn. There's 4 pieces of pizza out of this one pie.
Yep.
Then how do you cut it again? You go in straight, right?
Yeah, it's straight, but it becomes a 45-degree angle to as if you had done it flat sawn.
Yeah, because then how they feed it through, you're taking it and then it's going...
Right.
And then, okay, that's what I thought. And
so I have to consider all of this stuff. So it goes. We don't have a lumber mill. We do purchase it, but all of this stuff is stuff you have to know, and they all have different qualities. So like at our old place of employment, for example, and including this table here, I have this is flat sawn black walnut. Yeah. With the underneath supports, which most people don't even know exist on a table, are flat sawn maple in the case of this table. Now, flat sawn maple, in order to create a structural support, has to be used with the edge grain facing upwards into the table because wood doesn't have a lot of strength on its face. Like when you stand on a deck board, it'll bend. But the reason why you have your support braces going the opposite direction is because that's where the strength is. Yep. So it's the same idea. Now, however, if you use quarter sawn, the edge grain is on the face.
Didn't know that.
You can use stretchers that are shallower and wider, and they have the same structural capabilities as these, which stick down farther.
You learn new things every day, folks. Yeah, and that's the thing.
And now, welcome back to the Babbleheads podcast. Thank you for tuning into the Boring Engineering podcast.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty interesting, the idea that somebody at some point was like, if we cut this way, it'll be stronger for this, look like this, it'd be this.
Yeah, and the most interesting to me is Rift. Because Rift is like this big FU to the...
That's back in the cowboy days.
That's
where
like,
they're just chopping
we're
down
going to take this
like
tree that, we paid several $1,000s for because that's what a black walnut tree costs. And we're going to chop it up and we're going to take probably about 60% of it, we're going to turn it into scrap. Like instantly. And then we're going to turn it into furniture and turn about another 35 to 40% of it into scrap.
Dude, the waste.
We're
pretty good. We have the boiler and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think they're pretty good at what I would consider recycling. But
remember when our Hogger exploded?
Yeah, that was
so that was an interesting thing. So we were just sitting. Were you in the office at that point in time?
No.
You were somewhere else, right?
Yeah, you told me about it.
Yeah, we were. My old boss and I were sitting in our office, and we were about probably a good 300 yards from the location of this Hogger machine, which if you don't know what a Hogger is, which probably nobody does, it's a giant machine that you put whole chunks of wood into. Like you could throw a chair in there. Yep. And it will just mince it into pulp.
Not that they ever did that where we used to work.
Yeah, not that they ever did. They did all the time. It would just chunk it up into chips, basically. It's a giant industrial wood chipper. But it's called a Hogger. And it's run by this ginormous drive shaft. It's probably 12 inches wide. And it just spins and spins and spins. An unbelievable amount of torque goes through it to crunch up that much wood. It's pretty amazing and pretty mechanical. And at our old company, they were not big fans of what one would call preventative maintenance. So if it was broke, they would fix it. But they believed in the adage, if it ain't broke, don't bother. And so the Hogger didn't get maintained the way it should. And then one day we were sitting in our office and we heard We didn't hear, actually. It was more of a feel. We sort of heard and felt this giant kaboom that literally, I mean, mind you, we were 300 feet away and on the second story. So we were 300 yards. We were a long way away. We were across a road and over a parking lot and in a different building. Yep. And it shook us. We were like, whoa. And we both looked at each other like, holy shit, did you feel that or am I nuts? And what we found out was that giant 12-inch solid metal drive shaft had turned bright red hot because there was so much friction because it couldn't turn properly, and it had just exploded in extreme violence. And these machines are known for extreme violence, so they were behind concrete, 6-inch thick concrete to keep it from hurting anyone, and pieces of the machine went through that 6-inch concrete.
Yep.
That is terrifying.
Yeah.
So at my new place of employment, it's 20 feet underground.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I think it's when you look at wood specifically, if you were to try, like, all right, you're going to cut down a tree with your hands. You're like, oh my God, that's horrible.
Like just your hands?
Yeah.
Like
karate chop? Like try and pull it apart with your hands. You're like, it's next to impossible.
You could do it eventually, probably, like in 100 years.
But then you take a sharp tool, and it feels like butter, and that's when you realize we are really, really fragile. Like, we are not built well at all.
No.
Like, one slip up and you're gone. And I thought about that the other day when I'm watching this machine, like, shred something that's like, you couldn't even bend it with your hand, and this thing just goes snap, and it's gone. I'm like,
we build some scary stuff.
Yeah.
When you work in the industrial world, you see some of this stuff. Yeah. So another question about our previous employment. Are you going to be bidding on anything in the auction?
I want to so bad. When you showed me the picture that you had taken of like the 360 view of our office when we were in it, that made me sad.
Yeah, you could. Well, that a whole office could be yours for $50.
Has it gone up at all?
Nope. Nobody's bid on it. No one's bid on any of the offices.
Well, it's still early.
Dude, it ends this week.
What?
It's November 1st. It ends this week. I'm already signed up. I paid my $1 fee. I'm in.
I'm sure it's going to be like a mad dash at the end.
Maybe, but maybe not. There's been some bidding, but I don't think that many people know about it. I might be buying me a pickup truck.
You do not need a truck.
Current bid on, well, it wouldn't even end up being mine. I'd be buying it, fixing it up, clean it up, send it down the road for a couple $1,000 profit.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Because you don't need another car on your insurance.
Why?
Especially a truck. Bryson, we all know that you can't do that. You can't do it. So the last thing I think is pretty crazy. Veneer. Have you had to deal with all the different kinds of veneer and different kinds of cuts of veneer? That was
how much do you guys mess around with crossbands and all that stuff?
Yeah.
All the time?
Well, not too much. Yeah.
Because when we do veneer, I have to spec all that. So because we do it in-house.
Yeah.
So if I want plywood crossbands anywhere on it, I have to specify where they are, what they do, how thick they are. I have to tell them what core to use, how thick of a core, how thick of a
What kind of cores do you use?
MDF and ply.
Yeah. We use MDF and ply, and we actually use some solid wood.
Well, we only do that when we're going to an edge.
Yeah.
So if we have like a MDF top that we want to have a nice edge band on, we'll run a solid edge on it, and then veneer over the whole thing.
Yeah, well, we do on a lot of our stuff solid wood edge banding. It's like 7/8 stick on any open surface, because you got to realize like a lot of this stuff it's library furniture.
We're talking when we do veneer, it's for hotels.
Yeah, so like it's gonna get beat up.
Yeah,
and it's actually kind of funny because the veneer I think is stronger. Well, not the veneer, the laminate is definitely
laminate's very strong.
And it's like, you gotta realize, like, do you want this thing for a long, long time where kids are gonna be like, with that? Because you don't get solid.
Yeah, like this beautiful solid walnut table, if my son decided to come out here with a crayon,
he would cry.
is burnt.
You'd see a grown man cry at that point.
I'm gonna be out here with some sandpaper and some steel wool and some more finish.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Which is sad because it's a folding table.
It's kind of funny. It's the most expensive folding table in the world.
In the world.
You got Netflix, right?
Of course I do.
You watch any of the new stuff that's been like coming? They've been like killing it with releases.
That has got to be the vaguest term I've ever heard.
I mean, like the point of the question is they've been killing it with releases. Like I remember back in the day where I had watched literally all of Netflix.
I checked. I have been a Netflix customer since a ridiculous amount of time. I want to say like 2007.
Dude, yeah, same.
They were DVD only back when I started.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to have the big queue that you could move stuff around in the queue.
They still do that, but no one does it.
No. But
they do still offer it.
I was happy because for a good probably 3-4 years I was Netflix sober.
There's such a thing?
Yeah, I didn't have Netflix for that long.
Why? What's the point?
Because I had literally watched all of Netflix. That was before they had like...
You know what I know a lot of people do? Is they watch all of Netflix, cancel it, get Hulu. Yeah. Watch all of Hulu and then do it again.
Well, that's the thing is like now they've changed it. They're constantly updating. And that's what the question was like.
Yeah, between YouTube, Netflix, and Hulu, and Amazon Prime Video, like... Why is cable still a thing?
Yeah. I mean, I have a feeling they're raising the prices because they want to get as much money out of people who still watch cable before it all goes under. Like, I honestly think cell phones on Verizon, AT&T, any of that stuff, that's going to be gone well within our lifetime.
I could see AT&T no longer being, like Verizon too, no longer being a provider to consumers and evolving into a provider for businesses because they have because you hear me out because they own all the cell phone towers. They're the ones who own the infrastructure.
I'm saying cell phone towers are going to be useless.
Wi-Fi is not going to blanket us the way that you think it is.
I think it is, or something new, man.
Maybe something new, but cell phones are hard to replace because they're so good. The speed that we're able to achieve and the range that we're able to achieve with them is very good. What I think is going to happen is the current technology obviously is going to keep evolving because it always has. So right now we have 4G LTE as mainstream, but what's next? It's going to be something faster, but it'll probably still be the similar technology. But the difference is, I think companies like AT&T and Verizon as consumer companies are going to go bye-bye, and they're going to be the ones leasing the new technology to companies like Cricket and those smaller wireless providers that want to be the customer service end of things, and you're going to see everything go down in price dramatically.
I don't think so. I think you're going to see it all go bye-bye. I think pretty soon Wi-Fi is going to be so advanced and everywhere.
Wi-Fi.
Or something like it.
I was going to say, because Wi-Fi as it is, like a 5 gigahertz or a 2.4 gigahertz wireless signal, has a very finite range. Like a very finite range.
Yeah.
So they would have to put essentially a Wi-Fi range extender on every single lamppost in the country.
How long? You don't know. Something's gonna. I just feel like something's gonna come up.
That's not viable. Something else might be. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm saying that
Elon Musk wants
technology
to blanket the world in Wi-Fi.
Elon Musk wants to do a lot of things that aren't that smart. He makes them sound really smart, but they're not that smart.
I also wonder about the side effects of Wi-Fi. Have you ever gone down that rabbit hole?
I've been there. Been down that rabbit hole. I
can't imagine that all the things that we're putting, like radio waves and stuff, because they passed, like, right at this moment. Wi-Fi signal, radio waves, all that stuff is just going right through your body. Phone.
Think of all the electromagnetism in this room alone.
Yeah, that's all going through your body right now. You can't tell me that's a good thing. Constant exposure to that. Since you were born, until you die.
Riddle me this, Riddler. You know what you're exposed to that's way worse than that 100% of the time, all the time? Gamma rays. We're still okay. Everyone has to die somehow. I have a feeling that the radiation that we're creating by these types of technologies is way less bad for us than if we thinned our ozone by another couple of feet.
And then they put fluoride in the water and it turns the frogs gay.
Turning the friggin' frogs gay.
Oh, God. That took a turn.
Yeah, we just went down a big old rabbit hole.
Yeah. But, so Halloween. This is technically Halloween episode.
Yeah, happy Halloween episode. We talked about being kind to your wood again.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think we kind of discussed that dreams are kind of bullshit. And, you think
you gotta make your own dreams.
You think you know what you want, but I tell you right now, if you don't get out there and do shit,
you're never gonna be shit.
You'll never know what you want to do. Because there's a lot of people. Look at almost every successful artist that's gone to Blizzard. Most of them, within like 2 to 3 years, leave.
Gonzo.
Because they realize, I don't like working for a company making art.
Or they're like, oh man, all this time, I thought I wanted to be an artist, but really? I want to be a ballerino.
No. Most of them still are artists and sell their stuff on.
Yeah, they're ballerinos.
I wish you could have heard the sound my headset just made my noise. It sounded like I ripped a fart as I backed away questioningly from you. But,
is it because of the term ballerino?
Yes.
It's a thing.
I know. But
we know a professional ballerino.
We do. No judgment.
He's married.
No judgment.
To a woman.
Yeah. That's a thing that happened.
I mean, that's a stereotype broken right there.
No, there's lots of stereotypes broken. This podcast has been all about shitting on people's dreams and talking about stereotypes when it's supposed to be a Halloween episode.
Yeah, well...
Don't go as blackface to Halloween.
Next time you see me, I'll probably be a full-fledged zombie.
Yeah.
My flesh is going to start falling off.
You'll just be a pile of flesh.
Yeah, when you get a sec, everybody, go ahead and Google Coxsackie syndrome, Coxsackie disease in adults. I'll wait. Are you back?
That's Bryson's future. And possibly mine, because I'm a retard. Can you say that word? I feel like we're going to have to bleep that one out.
Nope. That's going in.
Yeah.
That's going in. You just got hated by everybody.
Yep. All of our 6 listeners. Yeah, I knew by your face. You're like, that just got said. Oh, here we go. Well,
I gotta hit the explicit button again.
Yeah, like you did in the last episode. That never happened. Well, I think we kind of got back on the track, and I hope people think it's interesting to talk about it because wood, all these things, you learn different things every day, and you never know when you'll use them.
It's true.
And you might be like, I don't really need to know about that, but you never know when it's going to come in handy.
It's true.
So, I think with that...
See ya.